Marceline, welcome to the Watermark Water Cooler. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing well.
Good. Can you introduce yourself to
absolutely.
the audience?
Hi, I'm Marceline. I am a junior developer here at Watermark.
Marceline, tell us a little bit about how you got into development, web development.
Well, with the world changing and whatnot, especially in 2020, I decided I would go and just pursue a passion that I'd kind of been wanting to for a while. I decided, okay, now's the time to learn. I went to a coding boot camp, got in that, and not too long after graduating there, I joined y'all here.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome to the team, by the way, and we've enjoyed working with you so far. We're talking about Contentful. Obviously, we use that as part of our web development process, and I say part of it because we'll get into some of that later. But just tell us a little bit about Contentful and why is it different, or what makes it different?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So Contentful is amongst the content management sort of systems, and a lot of people are more familiar with things like WordPress, where it is very user-friendly, which is a nice thing about that. But it is also, you can run into a lot of difficulties with how we're deciding to process this information and how it is being, the security levels with WordPress can be a little bit, it is wonderful and it's an open source system, but it also is also difficult and it's an open source system. And there are a lot of people who have knowledge as to where those weaker points are.
Yeah. One of the things that I always talk to our clients about, and again, WordPress is a fine solution. I think it's not that we're saying that it's not, but one thing that we've come across is, okay, we've built a WordPress site, and we used to be a WordPress only company. That's how we built all of our sites, and then made this kind of move into this headless CMS kind of world, which WordPress has an opportunity to do that as well. But we ran into this kind of conversation of, okay, we've got all these themes that have been built off of that, once that developer's gone, and they're not updating that theme anymore, it becomes a nightmare, right? It's like, how do we solve it? And we get all the time, clients come to us and are like, hey, we've got this theme that we were working on, and we can't support it anymore because we can't ask that developer who built it any questions anymore. Or we've got 10 million plugins that are running this site. That might be an exaggeration, but 20. I've seen 20. I've seen 30 plugins in the back end that are running this thing, and those plugins have vulnerabilities. They have update issues. So it's as much as we want to say that WordPress is a set it and forget it and let people edit the content on the back end and it's good forever. Truthfully, it's not. We've seen these issues and run into them all the time. Why is Contentful different in that way? Do we have plugins in Contentful?
Right. Well, there are potentials for plugins in Contentful as well, but it's a different setup. Because you had mentioned it's like a headless CMS, which is very different from a traditional CMS in the way it's done. So everything on Contentful is stored on the Contentful servers, and you're accessing it through API calls. And that is different from a typical WordPress thing, and it allows a lot more creativity with how you bring in the data. Now, headless CMS are great in a lot of ways that you can get it to any sort of port. It is an excellent resource for if you're looking for mobile design, if you're building apps. It's not specifically a website design, but that allows you to then take that and build out a custom front end. And so then your developers would be in charge of what's going into all of these places, and you have a much more control over that as opposed to the themes that you might have to be based off of in WordPress or things like that.
Yeah. I think there's cases for everything, right? There's a case why WordPress might be better. There's a case why a platform like Contentful might be better. I think one of the things that we get into and talk with our clients about is how robust of a system do you really need? And let's what makes Contentful so robust? I mean, some of the things you talked about, like these API connections, like that, you can get your data from anywhere. Like it doesn't matter, and that's why some of this conversation is that maybe Contentful really isn't a CMS. It's maybe bigger than that, or how do we still consider it a CMS?
I mean, it is, and it's a platform in itself.
Yeah.
But it is also fills the same role as the typical CMS. Like I feel like it is one of the things it does is it is like that headless first delivery is one of the bigger differences. There are things like you mentioned with WordPress, you can decouple the WordPress data from the presentation, so you get a similar, although not exactly the same, vibe of how you can make calls to it. But because it's not directly set up for that, there are sometimes some interesting hiccups and different ways of other problems that you can run into.
Yeah, and we've done that before and run into problems to run WordPress as a headless. But I think one of the most powerful things that I've seen in Contentful is just this ability to. It's not only pulling this data from anywhere, but it's also like really this idea of content can move and be very unrigid in a way, which I think is very powerful. Like I think the web is moving at such a fast pace. We were just at a conference not that long ago. We were looking at some of the big, the presenter was showing us some of the big insurance agencies, and they were moving content almost daily on their site. And I think Contentful lends itself to be a platform to be able to be that like very nimble. What kind of things is Contentful doing that allows like content to flow kind of like that and be less rigid?
Yeah, absolutely. So Contentful is, you structure what are content models, and they can have different relationships to each other and different ways of setup. It's actually has a pretty nice system of how you can nest different content models into one another and move those around, move references around. So it's relatively user-friendly, and you're able to move data as you need it. You can replace different models into other places as you need them. There's a lot of flexibility built into the system. It can be a very modular sort of design, which is very useful for when things are constantly changing, as they tend to be.
Yeah. And A/B testing, we have options to do that with Contentful, which is a huge, there's all kinds of things that it lends itself to be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something that is really nice about having a setup like Contentful.
Yeah. I'll say the negative in Contentful is you do need developers to help you do this. Like it's not you're not going to be able to just go set up a WordPress site and throw a theme on it and here you go. You're kind of I wouldn't say set it and forget it, but it's like you can get a designer to build a WordPress site off of a theme and not need a developer. But I think on the Contentful side, you need somebody on the dev side to help you build this.
Yes, absolutely. Contentful is really nice in that flexibility, and you can do anything you want with a front end. However, you have to build a front end.
Yeah.
So you do need someone who is able to develop that in, whatever language. There are many options of developers who can do that. But you do need someone who is familiar.
And what languages are Contentful built on?
So we build on in JavaScript through React, and we also use Gatsby as like our primary stack to get the websites up and running.
Cool. Well, I think we've covered a lot, and obviously we could probably talk for another 15 minutes on this. We don't want to spend too much time. We're just giving kind of an overview of Contentful. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with about like Contentful or just things as a developer in the Contentful space?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just want to mention just there are a lot of really good options for the way you handle your content management system. And for a individual person, stuff like WordPress can be great, but when you're looking to, expand out some and you can do some really, really wonderful design, really nice sites when you come at it from a Contentful angle or a Headless CMS angle.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Marceline, for being on this episode. And always, as always, like and subscribe to our channel. We love feedback. If you have anything in content you want to hear about, anything about agency life, anything we do here at Watermark, we'd love to create a video for you. So until next time, signing out.